What up, everybody? This is Chauncey from All Things Beer 510, and today we're gonna be answering some FAQs. I was called out by Joe, Jow's Arcade. 9 questions that I'm gonna answer, just for the beer community, the beer tube community, getting to know each other, and for everybody to get to know us. Tasting Nitch from Paris started it and called out several people, and then those people got to tag another additional 5 people. So at the end of this video, I'll be tagging 5 people. But I do have the questions in front of me. I do not memorize them from by heart, but I do have some questions to go through for y'all. Big shout out to Jow's Arcade for tagging me. Much respect. Let's get to question number 1. How did you get into beer geeking, and why beer? Originally I'm a hip hop head, hip hop geek, hip hop nerd. Always been, always will be. Also a comic book nerd, comic book geek, and I stopped doing hip hop music a few years ago, like really hardcore, but still listening to it. But I had to pick up on something new, so here is craft beer. I had friends that was into craft beer. I really wasn't into beer at all. My aunt worked for Budweiser for more than 20 years, and it just was not my thing. I did not like beer. I was just, Hennessy and Coke, Hennessy straight all day, no beer. And, little by little, my boy just started bringing certain beers around, and I started, falling into love with just the different tastes and everything, because I thought Budweiser was the only beer out there, Bud Light. That's what my aunt and my grandma used to drink all the time. But yeah, craft beer just, piqued my interest. And, I have an addictive personality. And once I like something, I love something. And, so that's how it happened. Just a big shout out to my man Omar for getting me into craft beer, because he was the first one who started really bringing around different beers and different beers for me to taste. And why beers? Just because it's, once I started getting into it, there's so many things that go into making a great beer. It's a big community, just almost it's similar to hip hop, and I think that's why I fell in love with it. Because hip hop is, if you're a hip hop head, you love music, you vibe with other people, you go to festivals, you meet new people. And not only did I do music, but I just knew so many people who did music, or DJ'd or whatever, or collected vinyl. And so with beer, I kind of find a big similarity. That's why you see when I do my reviews, I always try to keep it hip hop oriented, because I think it's a lot of similarities between the two. So that's why I chose craft beer, because it's really similar to hip hop, and the community is really similar. And that's why I chose it. Second question is, what's my favorite beer? Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I can't. Yeah, there's so many beers I like, and that's, it's a really hard question. But I would probably say my favorite beer is, and it's not my favorite style of beer actually, but my favorite beer is actually Firestone's Sukaba. A few years ago, I had it, and I think, I had a couple American style barley wines. I didn't even know what an English style barley wine was, and I had that beer. Somebody was drinking it at City Beer Store in San Francisco, and they let me taste it, and it just blew my mind. At that point, I was still drinking IPAs. I wasn't into stouts heavy. I wasn't into barley wines heavy. I wasn't into a lot of styles. I was into IPAs and sours. And that beer just took me to a different place. It tastes like figs, and it had sugar, and it had all these different tastes, and it just blew my mind. And until this day, an English style barley wine is one of my go tos if I'm just chilling on a Friday or Saturday night. Some people drink whiskey on Friday and Saturday night. If there's a good English style barley wine, I want that. And Sukaba, I would say, probably my favorite beer of all time. If you could have one beer forever, what would it be? Um, I've seen a lot of people go different ways. People are choosing IPAs. because if you could drink one beer, you want to drink an IPA all the time, um, because stouts, you can't drink those all the time, right? I would say no. I want to drink a beer, on Thursday night or Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday night nightcap. I love dessert beers. I love sweet stouts. And probably, if I could have one beer forever, this is a kind of a new beer that blew my mind recently, but it would probably be Great Notions Double Stack. It's not really about the hype. I know it's really hyped up, but I love coffee and I love maple beers and love maple in general, and it's just so sweet, but at the same time, it's so coffee forward, and I think I could drink that in the daytime, or I can drink that at night. It's not barrel aged. It's not gonna put me on my ass. I can drink one, and I could probably drink two like throughout the day and the night. But yeah, I would say double stack. I could drink that all day, all night long. And just chill. Watch a movie. Anything. And I think double stack would probably be a beer that I could drink forever. It doesn't matter the time of year, time of day. Double stack would probably be the beer that I could drink any time of day. And the fourth question is, how can you drink so much? How do you stay healthy? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you guys. I am not healthy at all. Before I got into craft beer real heavy, I was working out. I was going to the gym. I was, a nice size, whatever. But craft beer and then work full time and school full time, kind of like took me a different route. I'm not healthy. If you guys see me in person, some of you guys do. I'm not fat. I'm not overweight, but I'm not some buff dude either. I'm just a nice sized guy. About 5'10". I'm not tall, so if you guys thinking I'm 6'3", 6'4", or 6'1", or 6'2", like I'm 5'10", about 175, 180 pounds, and I'm not healthy at all. I need to get back to the gym. I always say that, but I really do, to balance out me drinking, because I like to drink beer. I'm gonna drink beer on the weekend. I try not to drink a lot during the week, but sometimes it still happens. Sometimes work kicks my ass and I need a beer. But other than that, yeah, I'm not really healthy. But as far as drinking much, I try not to drink on school nights. As far as work nights, I do work Monday through Friday. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday during the day, especially during football season, I'm gonna drink a beer. During the week, I try not to. Still hard. When I'm doing reviews, whatever, I'll do a beer for a review. I know some people say they pour out the beer. I've never poured out a beer, and that's not to discredit nobody who does that, but I'm not pouring out a beer that I like, actually, that I like. But most of the beers that I do review, if not all of them, I like them. I'm not gonna buy a beer that I think I'm not gonna like, or tell somebody to, or trade with somebody for a beer that I think I'm not gonna like. So for the most part, I've never drain poured anything on camera. I finish everything, unless it's horrible, but that's personal. That's off camera. But on camera, I try to finish everything. I mostly do. So yeah. So that's question number 4. Question number 5. A straightforward question: are you an alcoholic? I would say no. Um, you know, there, there, people in my family, we like to drink. We like to have a good time. Since I was a child, every weekend, my grandma was turned up, my aunt was turned up, my mom was turned up, family, everybody, cousins, friends, we all, and that was not beer. That was, either brandy or cognac or whatever the drink is. As far as liquor, everybody in the family was always turned up. As far as alcoholism, me personally, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't need this to get around. I'm not stumbling into work drunk. I'm a very professional person. work. Alcohol is not prohibiting me. Everybody at my job knows I love craft beer. I don't hide it. It's not something that I don't want to tell nobody or anything like that. I love craft beer, and a lot of people you find out, like craft beer, want to get in and don't know how, and they ask you questions. But as far as being an alcoholic, no, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not drinking, 6 beers a night or 8, or coming home and smashing a whole bunch of beers. That's never been my style. There's been some nights, who hasn't, that we've all got drunk, and nights where you throwing up, or, you just lost it all. But I've never got drunk off of like beer. Like I've never been like, can't function because of beer. That's always because I'm a Hennessy or Remy, or I mix my drinks when I should have never mixed my drinks, one of that. But when it comes to beer, I've never been drunk off of beer, like really drunk, stumbling. That's just not cool. It's not cute. So that's never happened to me. Alcoholism is not cool, and that's just not something I would categorize myself as. What's your favorite ingredient? Question number 6. I would say hops. Being friends with some people who brew, there's just it's so cool that a hop, that's something that is from the earth, can make such a great beer and such great beers, and it's really cool. I know some people say yeast, some people said, I don't know if anybody said water yet, but me, I'm going to say hops. I mean, there's so many. There's Galaxy, Simcoe, Amarillo, Citra. There's it seems like new ones getting invented all the time, and it's just like really cool, and I think it's really, people should really try to preserve, the hops that we have, and a lot of people are knocking down stuff and building stuff and everything like that. But if that keeps happening, we might not have hops for great beer in the future, maybe 30, 40 years from now. But hops is just, is dope, because there's so many different varieties that add so many different tastes to so many different things. And the more I drink craft beer and the more I'm getting into craft beer, I can taste the hop, taste the beer, and like, oh, that's that. It's just something my palate keeps picking up on, and it's dope. So hops would be my favorite ingredient. Do you brew? No, I do not brew. Never have brewed. I would like to do it for fun, but I know my limitations. It would only be for fun. I do not want to. I do not want to own a brewery. I do want to own a tap room, and I do have an idea for a tap room. But as far as a brewery, no. I want to be able to drink everybody's beer. I don't want to have my own beer and really focus it on that. That's not my forte. But so yeah, no, I do not brew. But yeah, eventually I want to do some home brewing just for stuff that I can give to my friends or whatever. But no, I do not brew. And that's not something I plan on getting into. What was your first beer? Okay, so I think this is a two-part question, because my first beer is not my first craft beer. My first beer was, I would say Budweiser or Bud Light because my aunt worked for him, but actually, during the 90s, I grew up in the 90s. My first beer was actually a Mickey's, either a Mickey's or an Old English, but I think it was Mickey's with the little hornet, little bee on it, little malt liquor. My pops used to drink that heavy in the 90s, and when he wasn't looking, or he would go away, or sometimes he would even give to me when I was a young kid. That was my first beer, and actually that was not bad. It didn't, when I would drink Budweiser or Bud Light, I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. But Mickey's was not bad, and if somebody give me a Mickey's right now, I might drink it. Yeah. So Mickey's was the first beer I can remember that I had as a little kid tasting that. It was a Mickey's. And 9. Oh yeah, hold on, and I'm drinking. Yeah, so Mickey's was my first, just regular beer. My first craft beer I had, I would say either it was Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale, which was disgusting at the time. I remember my neighbor passing it over the fence. I had it and I spit it out. Like I will never forget that moment. It was nothing like I never tasted anything like that. And my neighbor was like, "Oh, you want to try this?" I think I was like 16, 17, and it was like disgusting. disgusting to me. I could drink a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale now, but back then my palate was not ready for none of that, and it was disgusting. But I think when I first really started getting into craft beer, and the first craft beer that I had was either Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA or Lagunitas IPA. Like I said, big shout out to my man Omar. He was up on craft beer way before me and put me onto a lot of things. And he knows a lot about beer. And he was the one that brought those to me. And those were the first beers I had that made me, okay, this is cool. Like, I can drink this. So yeah, Lagunitas IPA and Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. And the last question is, who do I look up to in the beer community or beer world? As far as who I look up to, I'm from California, from the Bay Area, and maybe this is just being biased, but I just look up to a lot of these, great right now Bay Area breweries. There's so many breweries in the Bay Area. There's so many great companies in the Bay Area that are just doing great things right now, and I look up to them. I mean, because local beer, support your local craft beer, and from Cellar Maker to Russian River to Connor and Tim at Cellar Maker to Vinny at Russian River to the people at Temescal or Heretic from where I'm from in Fairfield, where they have a brewery out there, the Rare Barrel, the Sours, to Fieldwork. I mean, there's so many. Alvarado Street, North Coast, which is not really in the Bay Area, but still that's kind of Northern California. Track 7, Moonraker. I mean, Northern California, the whole Northern California just has so much great beer. And I'm just naming names. There's not like all of my favorites. These are just some that come to mind directly. But just I look up to them. I look up to being in an area where we have great beer, and I don't take that for granted because there are some states and some cities where they don't may not have access to great beer, and they have to trade and trade and trade. I'm lucky enough to be in a great area where there's so many great breweries, so many great tap rooms, so many great people with so much great knowledge and passion for it. And I look up to them. And if I ever eventually open up my own tap room, it's a great community to open up a business in because people support local craft out here. So, big shout out to the whole Northern California, whole Bay Area, whole California for just making great beer and West Coast beer in general. Other than that, I don't have nothing. This is Chauncey. So when you guys see me, you don't have to say 510 guy or All Things Beer. This is Chauncey from All Things Beer 510. You guys take care. Till next time. Peace. And I almost forgot that I have to tag 5 people. So the people that I'm going to tag is my man No Hype Reviews from upstate New York. Big shout out to you. My man Han Solo from Portland, Oregon. Big shout out to you. My man Nerdsense from Everett, Mass. Big shout out to you. The BAOS podcast or BAOS podcast. Big shout out to you guys. If you guys don't know about them, as a Canadian and an Australian, they do dope reviews. And my 5th one is the Craft Beer Channel. Garrett and them dudes wrote a tremendous book. Beer School, and they just have a dope channel. It's almost like you're watching TV when you watch them dudes. And Nerdsense too, their setup is crazy. If you don't know about my man Sean and Mike, check them out. I'll leave a link for them. BAOS. I'll leave a link for them. My man Han Solo just started doing reviews from Portland, Oregon, and there's a lot of great beers in the Pacific Northwest. Big shout out to him. Check out his link. My man No Hype Reviews already up to number 50 on his reviews as well. Upstate New York has a lot of great access to beer. So those are my 5 that I'm tagging. So do a video, 9 questions. Big shout out to Tasting Nitch. You guys take care. Peace.